welcome. Welcome to TechSec, this Technical Security Summit brought to you by ET Edge, which is an initiative of the Economic Times, part of Bennett & Coleman, the Times Group. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for being with us, and we have a packed program today. We're going to enjoy the day and walk away with lots of learnings and a few incentives which I'm going to talk to you about. But right now, I'd like to thank, besides thanking all of you, the organizations behind the success of TechSec. Most importantly, our platinum sponsor, HCL, our security partner, McAfee, our gold partner, Trend Micro, Palo Alto Networks, our associate partners who include Bluecoat, Ace Data, CTROS, QuickHeal, Sequoia, and Secure, my apologies, and SafeNet. I've got to tell you that today, as I said, we have a packed program and some takeaways, besides, of course, the takeaways you get from the days, and the eminent personalities will be talking and interacting with you. We also have something solid that you could take away, and that is a Sony Bravia LED HD television, which will be given away as a prize at the end of the day. This has been given away by Ace Data. Now, to be eligible for this, all you have to do is fill up a form. The form will be handed over to you by my friend who's standing right there. Fill up the form and hand it over to the Ace Data stall. You must ensure that the forms are filled in and handed over by 3 o'clock, so at 4 o'clock when we have the draw, you're eligible. But remember, you have to be here when we have the draw. Do fill up the form completely and hand it over to the Ace Data stall during the day. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the takeaway, a grand television. But now, to give you the whole picture and to officially welcome you, please welcome Sector Head ET Edge, Rishi Kapoor.
Hi, very warm good morning to all present here. It's indeed a pleasure to be in the company of senior established leaders who have helped India score big on digital front through their valuable contribution. With an incredible pace, the world's become localized and our economy globalized. IT and its users have become very important for private firms and government bodies. Greater growth figures bring even bigger responsibilities. In this case, it's all about securing information which is critical for huge businesses. With the immense advancement, there has also been a progress in security, threats, and modern technology has proven to be all more vulnerable in breaches. We are living in an increasingly virtualized age. What comes across a very disturbing is the fact that identification of cyber threats and even basic protection measures has been lacking and nobody is immune from it. Unfortunately, cybersecurity continues to be a rather less understood concept. Considering India's position as the world's technology capital, it becomes very critical for us to adhere to the basic rules of limiting security breaches. ET Edge, an Economic Times initiative, which has been founded with the vision to complement growth of business across sectors by providing timely and critical knowledge through strategic conferences and summits. Over the years, Times Groups have continuously worked to further nation's development, and through unparalleled reach of media vehicles, has led initiatives which resulted in prosperity. The world of technology and associated security holds great value in store, which this platform aims to explore by bringing visionaries and leaders together for discussing critical strategies that will lead to enhancing digitalization of the globe. The conference ahead during the day will deliberate on key issues being faced by the industry with an aim to get some best possible solution on table. I would now want to formally open the day for discussion. I sincerely hope all of you have an insightful day today. Thank you.
That was Rishi Kapoor, Sector Head, ET Edge Times Conferences Limited. Thank you, sir, for that warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, as we said earlier, we have a packed program. If you've seen the schedule earlier, you must have seen that the keynote was to be delivered by the Principal Secretary, IT Government of Maharashtra, Mr. Rajesh Agarwal. Mr. Agarwal very much wanted to be a part of this summit, but a last-minute change in schedule has ensured that he is not with us at the moment, necessitating his leaving Mumbai, and so we will miss him at the summit this year. Moving on, we have the first panel. The first panel is Enhancing Progressive Threat Detection. Before we move on to the panel, I call the eminent panelists onto the dais. A few ground rules. First, of course, while you're in the hall, to please ensure that your mobiles and other connected devices are on silent. As far as the panels are concerned, we very much will like to stay on time. So to enable us to keep on time, we have a system of buzzers. About a few minutes before the panel ends, one buzzer will ring. That gives an indication that we should move on to concluding remarks. And there'll be one more buzzer which will ring, at which time it will be time for the panel moderator and panelists to just wind up, the conclude, and then hand over to the next panel. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's move on with the first panel. The first panel is going to be moderated by Subramanian N., who is the Director, Market Consultancy, KPMG. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome N. Subramanian to take his place on the dais. I'd like to also welcome other panelists. We have with us Umakanta Ponda, who is Joint Director, IT, Andhra Pradesh Electricity Regulatory Commission. Dr. Ponda, who's Joint Director, gets about 2 decades of experience and is responsible for designing, commissioning, and developing the regulatory IMS at APERC. Joining them on the dais, we have Dr. A.S. Ramashastri, former CGM, Department of IT, Reserve Bank of India, with 3 decades of rich experience in IT policy, infrastructure, and application. He tomorrow takes over as post of Director for IDRBT at Hyderabad. Thank you, sir, for being with us. And on the panel, we also have the Group CIO for RPG Enterprises, Sunil Aradhya. He also brings to the dais about 30 years of experience from accounting to taxation, finance, SAP, and IT, where he now directs and mentors IT teams across the conglomerate of RPG. On the panel, we also expect the presence of Group CIO Reliance Group, Alpana Doshi. She's going to be with us in a short while. We hear she's stuck in traffic. She steps up with about 2 decades of experience, recipient of the Best CIO Award, CIO of the Year, Woman CIO for 2010. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to hand you over to a gentleman with a wealth of experience over 2 decades across 4 continents, handling various enterprises on information security, technology risk assessment, and compliances. In KPMG, besides, of course, information security, he also focuses on technology audits and business consultancy management. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to hand you over to your moderator for this session, Subramanian N. I'd like to also request you, if there is time permitting, at the moderator's discretion, there will be a question-answer session, at which time, please put your hand up. A mic will come around. Stand up, please. Identify yourself and direct the question to either the moderator or the participant. With that, it's over to you, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, friends. I thought probably there would be a keynote address, and I would pick up some keynotes from the keynote address and introduce the topic in discussion here. But it seems like I'm left in a quandary. Okay, no worries. So the topic for discussion is enhancing progressive threat detection. Now, everybody would like to be, as long as possible, preventive, right? I would like to prevent a fire here, so I put fire extinguishers across the rooms, in a simple common parlance, if I may say so. But that may not be practical. So I go one step forward and say, what threats can I detect? And over a period of time, we have seen that the threat detection, the importance or the weightage to threat detection has increased considerably, because everybody cannot prevent as such any attacks as such. Because security today is now all pervasive, but there are always loopholes, weaknesses in security measures taken, and there's always a challenge to slightly be above the curve as far as preventing and detecting threats are concerned. So from that aspect, so there is a conscious move or conscious effort being made that can we analyze threats from consumer technologies, emerging technologies coming in the market, social media, cloud, mobility and all, and more people and more the ecosystem widening using technology per se. Can we try to detect threats slightly better and quickly respond to them as far as possible. I use the word response here because reactive becomes very impulsive, and it may not yield the result what a planned solution may yield. So can we detect threats quickly as possible and respond also effectively? So I'm going to throw the question to the panelists here. From an organization standpoint, each one of you, can you throw from your manufacturing sector, Mr. Aradhe? So how are you seeing threats from an organization standpoint, and is there any measures consciously being taken either from your organization or within the manufacturing sector gambit in totality?
So coming from manufacturing organizations and a group of multiple companies wherein different kind of businesses have different requirements, what we really look at as our assets to protect is the information, or more of manufacturing plant oriented information. The business is happening all across the world at pretty remote sites, so networks become very important. The information assets are certainly important. However, with the nature of business that we are into, it's not a BFSI kind of a situation where somebody will want to hack into our systems and steal any information, and it's going to be of great value to them. At least up till now, we haven't seen that kind of a threat perception. But we do have requirements more from the perspective of the web-based applications getting defaced, or websites or intranets. So we have seen the incidences of intrusions, etc. Often the threat can be internal with reference to information leakage, data leakage. Some of our businesses are into tendering business, so there the stakes involved are really very, very high. It's not just the pricing which can go to the computer, but you can actually have really result into significant loss. It's not a stock and sale kind of situation wherein you have some time to catch up with the competition, etc. So more of networks related security becomes more important, and the information leakage, data leakage, the intelligence leakage that can happen from inside out becomes more and more important. We are taking several steps to do various things in the area of security, bring more of a awareness. The Indian mind is generally never a very suspicious mind. It's always very trusting and caring, and we tend to slacken a bit very quickly. We always react to a situation, we do some running around, but again we lay back or we take a back seat, and we really don't work on it in a really conscious manner. But we are changing that focus. Safety, security, environment, whole of that is being changed. And we shall be looking at several solutions to do in a proper way. But it has to have a right foundation of processes and cultural awareness. That's what we are working at this stage.
Okay. Now I put the question across the regulator himself, who is the father of all the banks in the country. And we at KPMG closely work with RBI also, and we have seen how RBI has evolved over the last 10 years, like 10-15 years with the banks as far as technology is concerned and security is concerned. And we are also very amazed and impressed and amazed at how it has evolved over a period of time, and how banks are kept in check as far as technology and security are concerned. Now I would ask him this question as to how does he foresee from a banking sector, and how banking are the most vulnerable because they are facing the customer in large, they are the national infrastructure of the country also. How are they addressing this threat detection mechanisms, and what is the way forward from a banking perspective?
Good morning. I have a few points to make, particularly because banks, just as a precursor to security. See, information in other cases is more information. When it comes to banking, it is a fund itself. So what actually is considered to be looked at, because the bank accounts reflect the actual funds of the individuals who keep it in. And when you do a financial transaction which goes over the net, virtually the fund is transferred more than the information.
Right.
So the information breach here is actually a fund breach. You know, that's why it becomes more vulnerable compared to major system. May not be comparable to defense, because that vulnerability is a little different and maybe higher when the countries are at localized. But within the country or across the countries, the fund being a one which people would like to try to do something on that. So these systems become much more vulnerable. In the sense, more people may attack them and try to breach them. So then what is that necessary to be done? So one part of it is, actually I just like to put in a proper perspective how we look at information security. There are 4 pillars on which the information security rests. One is the governance itself. So every organization needs to have a proper governance structure. That means that right from the top people understand the information security. This is one of the major challenges most of us would face, because the security itself is not very well understood, physical security. And then you have to have a governance structure which understands information security. Then the appropriate policies that are put in place. The third one is the systems. I think that's where we can debate a little more as to what is in store for us. And the fourth one is awareness. This is equally important when we think in terms of information security. You put a very good system, but the person using it is not really aware why I should do all these things, then the entire system crumbles. So these 4. So what we try to do is, put in place a system where each organization tries to address this. This is one thing which is going forward. Banks have started understanding the importance of information security, and therefore there are internal systems that take care of them. On the actual systems part, quite a bit has to happen. So many things are there, but certain things have to happen. One, a breach can be easily analyzed and found that it has happened after the event occurred. That's one kind of systems that are put in place.
Right.
The second thing is, as the event takes place, particularly in a fund transfer, as the event takes place, is it possible to track it and see that some alert comes out of the system? So this is what I think is the main debate of today's topic, as to how to detect it as a fraud. I don't call it fraud, as an attempt is made on a breach of the system. Here, quite a lot of work is happening. I think many organizations are working on good algorithms, and that's where I think these kind of seminars would help also. There are a lot of work happening on mathematics and artificial intelligence, fuzzy logic. These are underlying things which the new products are coming, and if they are integrated into the systems of the payment, then it will work. But there is a small problem here. I just want to say, an efficient system and a secure system should coexist. By an efficient system, I mean it should meet faster and it should meet the user expectations quickly. But if you try to put too many challenges in between, like a 2-factor authentication, it's a challenge. The system doesn't complete the transaction, it asks for something else. Then the user convenience comes. So in the regulator and the banking system, we are trying to work, and we have to work probably to a state where the systems are still user-friendly, systems are efficient, but they are very robust. I think on the system per se, I think I would have something to say, but probably after one round of
discussion. Sure. Mr. Panda, you may want to give your views on electricity regulatory.
Yeah. In power sector, we lay down the norms and standards for the transmission and distribution companies to operate in the market. So every month, either quarterly or yearly and half yearly, we check the regulatory parameters, for which we directly log into the company's databases through online access, and there is a VPN connectivity which is being presently done. Earlier it was we are using the getting data through CDs and again importing the import and export through Oracle to see the regulatory compliance. And the security policy as such in the power sector is in the process of preparation. Even though we are using IDS, IPS, antivirus, firewalls, still the systems are not secure.
Okay. From Mr. Arade, from implementation standpoint of systems and applications across, when it comes to threats, it is generally an access point, right? And detecting a threat as soon as what Dr. Ramshastri said, how quickly you can respond, okay? So there are physical access systems which are provide physical access to the employees and the vendors who come in the organization to do some service, and there are employees who have got swipe card systems, and plus the employees have got logical access in the respective applications. Is there a conscious effort to link the physical access systems and the employee and the web and the applications from an access standpoint, so that you are able to monitor more effectively who is coming in, who is logically having the access to the application? Is there any effort on that front?
I think the question is very good and very valid, but whatever I have seen in manufacturing organizations so far, what happens is the whole sphere of IT is still evolving. So while IT is the enabler for overall business objectives of each and every function, many business functions don't have a roadmap of their own as well, which can be synced with the IT roadmap, or IT roadmap can be prepared with reference to their respective roadmap. So what I mean by that is that so many IP-enabled devices or IP enablement is happening all across, but the individual functions who are the business owners of those particular solutions are really not understanding the importance of it. So for example, CCTV cameras network that you might have, the security people are looking at it in a very limited way. The whole security aspect behind that, or when it is connecting to networks, and the whole process that has to be tied up behind the back, behind that camera, the whole data retention cycle, or even the necessity to have the uptime, and whether it is the UPSs for that, or whatever may be the whole process. Nobody thinks through all of this. One would just put up some CCTV cameras, and they will say, just camera installing a camera itself becomes a deterrent for a lot of people. So they lay down a very limited objective. Even in security area, we don't work towards having 100% security. There's nothing like 100%. But if you leave it at 80-90%, then you will not get even 80-90%. That kind of objective people are not taking. Or even like many of these, so there are various functions who are owners for these various systems. So when you look at, suppose, access control, often admin, HR may be the people who are really securing that.
Right.
Or attendance recording systems. When you get into the area of applications, again the owners could be different, identity management, etc.
Right.
So putting all of this together and identifying whether the person who has swiped his card is the same person who is logging into the systems now, I think it's a very higher level of integration, and manufacturing organizations at least are pretty far off to reach that level, because many of them may not even have single sign-on solutions as of date, or many of them won't have.
But is there a thought process in that direction from a threat standpoint?
It all depends on the maturity level of each organization. As they mature, as they think. I do see risk assessment frameworks being laid down, at least at this stage, in various organizations. People are realizing the need to have the risk assessment and work on this particular aspect, at least identify those, and then discuss at board level the whole risk matrix or the risk register getting discussed.
Okay.
So that then each function does its own homework, job, to review it on a regular basis and take actions around that.
Okay.
But the expected level of integration will take really some time to reach.
Okay. Doctor, from a RBI standpoint, when you prescribe guidelines to the banks across in general, do you specify guidelines with respect to when you are implementing systems or applications or processes which are automated nature, the threat detection mechanisms have to be in place, and these are the guidelines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you may also be prescribing preventive mechanisms also, but detection becomes much more, and the response time or the SLA is defined should be broad-based in this areas. Is there any guidelines on that front?
Quite a bit of guidelines are there. One is in terms of proper guidelines and some other things. Second thing is, I think we have got some committee reports, especially on the internet banking and all those things. I mean, just to keep it on record, we have got a committee report called Gopal Krishna Committee Report, which actually gives the whole spectrum, whole gamut of what is the information security that the banks have to put in place, and that's what we keep following up, saying that these are the things. There are issues in this. One is to put in place a proper information security system, and what we also tell them, which is what is more important, is you have a periodical vulnerability assessment and threat detection mechanism, in the sense that you get a third party to audit it, or you have another information system auditors to come and check whether these things are in place or not. That kind of ethical hacking that is required, it has to be in the case of banks, and which is also told, and we also monitor to some extent whether the banks are doing it or not. It's not like a regular supervision, but some kind of feedback mechanism that the banks are actually keeping these systems in place. Now, let me also deviate a little bit on this. See, one is these systems which are centrally managed, like core banking system or anything which is there in a data center, and you actually reach the system through an internet. This vulnerability assessment and threats are reasonably manageable, in the sense that the systems are fine. But then the banks also have other channels, like an ATM channel, a credit card channel,
right,
where it's much more difficult to introduce these kind of systems. That's where I think the question which the manufacturing also you asked, the physical and the logical access, are they coexisting well or not? I mean, this is, I think, a thought process going on across the globe. The physical security people were looking more, I mean, more from the angle of saying protecting the building and the physical assets.
Correct.
Now, the asset is no more a physical asset, it's a more a logical asset. So, the thought process of the physical security people and the information security people converge. And there are systems which take care of, with the IP becoming, with IP6 becoming an easier way to connect every device, telephones and all the things get connected, and smarter buildings to be in place. And probably that is the thought process that is there. Specifically, as on today, we don't give guidelines like that, but that's an approach that is being taken over a period of time, bringing all kinds of security as they converge, and then the physical and the logical or information assets are managed by one set of team with a risk management at the apex kind of thing.
Okay. But do you also, when you do audits in banks and everything, do you look at how threats are analyzed, detected, categorized, and how the bank approaches those threats and how the responses are given? Do you get into those kind of details also?
Reasonable assurance we do get. Not that we audit what they are doing, but the kind of assurance that is required. That's why we said it's a governance process.
Right.
Actually, if whatever are we say that whatever the RBI, I mean central bank guidelines are there, whether they are actually followed, whether these periodical drills are done and all those things actually has to go to the board level. That process is there or not is what we generally see. If it is there, then the board and the internal system should be conscious enough to take care of those kind of things.
Okay.
However, when we get to know that some particular issue is there, like this is a possible threat, then we interact with that particular bank and we do a little more than what is the normal course of our thing. Otherwise, we keep distance, but we watch it, and if anything is there, we certainly take care of that particular thing.
Okay. Mr. Panda, from an regulatory, any
These, in our regulatory commission, the threats which we face is like people, they bring pen drives, iPads and mobiles and they connect to the LAN. So in absence of a policy, suppose we have say Symantec antivirus. The iPods which they bring, that has a different antivirus or different products. So this again the virus or some intrusion that comes into the network. So that we are trying to have we are trying to streamline that so that or put a policy in place so that the threats doesn't come to the network.
Okay. I have a question for all three of you. With big data and analytics coming into picture, is there a conscious effort to like analytics tools or do more detailed analysis on threats which are coming in and which have come in the past and see their trends, see their movements and everything, and see and prepare an effective response for the same? Anybody?
If the question is in relation to any threats and the incidences, then I would say no, it's not there. But protecting the whole analytics is, yes, people are realizing the importance of that, that information is power and everything cannot be shared with everyone. So very selective sharing of information or access controls, etc. around that. And the whole security around the analytics piece is becoming important.
I will slightly deviate here. From a threat standpoint, if you have an incident response system and that those have identified threats for long now, last 5-7 years. So, is there an effort being taken to do some analytics around those threats which have happened and see what is the way forward, going forward?
No, I haven't seen anything like that.
There is a Hyderabad data science group.
Okay.
Which they conduct every 15 days, 30 days, some workshop kind of thing. Either some machine learning tool or...
Ladies and gentlemen, Group CIO Reliance, Alpana Doshi.
Hi, ma'am. Good morning. So we were just discussing about, from each sector standpoint, how the threat detection mechanism is effectively progressing, or from what it was earlier, because everything can't be prevented. You need to detect threats and see how quickly you can respond to those threats, and maybe with analytics, tools, etc. So what is, from a telecom standpoint, what is your views on how telecom is progressing in that field? Because telecom is now the sector today which is everybody is watching, as technology is progressing very fast in that field, in that sector. So how does threat mechanism or threat detection becomes a very crucial factor, and what are your views on this?
You can use this.
Well, You said it absolutely right. I mean, telecom sector, in fact, is the most impacted, I would say, with all that is going on. And like Steve Jobs said, that while technology can make advances, it's really the social aspects that are in fact playing a big role in especially areas like security. Because you can have a user ID, login, password, everything, but you can again just pass it on. It's the simplest of the things that we need to worry about. However, in the case of telecom sector, considering that there is a proliferation of mobile devices and BYOD and all these developments which make the consumers to have a lot more simpler experience. However, from a technology standpoint, telecom sector is finding that we ought to be looking at much more proactive ways in order to deter the threat. Now, we also are making progress in the areas of big data and analytics, and it is not that the whole predictive analytics has not taken shape. So what we are trying to do is use predictive analytics much more effectively and therefore see the pattern in which the attacks are happening. We are doing a 360-degree comprehensive penetration test, which was not as stringent, I would say, a couple of years back, but today we don't have a choice. And the third most important thing is we are wanting to promote much more from the regulatory authorities and other government bodies, DOT, etc., to enable the aspects where things like Aadhaar and eKYC are actually adoptable. It is one thing to say that you have Aadhaar, but is it really implementable across the industry, across the country, and everyone who doesn't have verifiable address? And you saw yesterday's news where, $500 can get you an Aadhaar card. So how do we defeat those social aspects in India is, I think, the big challenge. So from a telecom standpoint, I will say that majority, while it used to be maybe about 20% of our business earlier in terms of the effort put, today it is going to be absolutely 40 to 50%. There is no denying that fact. It is a necessary investment that needs to happen.
Well, adding on to one more, the same point which you emphasized, since telecom sector is the, like if I say national infrastructure of the country today, categorized in that category, are there any closed forums in telecoms where you speak about, where you discuss what kind of threats are coming in and how do we try to detect, analyze, categorize by way of tools or analytics or something like that? Are there closed forums in telecom sectors who look into those aspects, not only from your organization but from other organizations also put together?
I would say we can do a lot more in that, and that is one area we possibly lack. I know that there are a few sectors like this, few forums which are addressing it, even more than in India. The global forums like the Telemanagement Forum, where I happen to know that in particular because I'm a board member there. There are catalysts that are devised with the various multiple suppliers. But the efforts, I would say, in my view, need to take a multiple degree extra focus because it is still in silos and possibly we can't do too much of discussion on security all within the forums because someone else is always smarter than us. Let's give them the credit that yes, there are smarter people if botnet can be hired and to do a lot of things. And with the telecom, the ARPU still being fairly, low, even now, how much of the effort can we really beat, right? But I'd like your, point that you're mentioning, and we have been discussing that a lot with a number of our suppliers. Just like in Verizon, there is an internal organization that discusses it. What we tend to do is discuss it a lot more with our partners and come up with solutions which are maybe a lot more proprietary. We do tend to take contributions into the TRI and DOT so that it becomes an industry best practice. Yes, guidelines. Yes.
Doctor, I have, from an RBI standpoint, if I put data privacy also into picture, the entire, and if I see the threat environment or ecosystem, it becomes much more crucial and critical. So, and since a lot of privacy, data privacy is there in the banks today, and they need to protect it from everybody. So how does RBI address these aspects when it comes to the banking sector?
Yeah, the earlier parts are fine, like we need a good governance policy and all those things are fine. That's for the individual bank to ensure that it is there. Because the other point that is becoming more and more relevant on which both RBI and other institutes are working is on for doing good analytics on anything. One is the pattern recognition of the fund transfer proper, which is what I was telling. There are adequate number of studies and papers and systems that are there by which you can see a process that is going on and use it possible for you to get to an alerting system. But that's one way of looking at it. The second thing is there are many places where a threat would have been there, but it was thwarted and you wouldn't know that such a thing has happened. This happens to many banks. But if each bank has faced this, and if the information is not across the system, then there is a gap in the whole process. The one thing is RBI does collect some kind of information. But as a regulatory collecting is a slightly different thing, because then so many issues do come. Like no one would like to put across too many things happening out of the bank. But more important is a forum of the banks where they voluntarily put information from their respective bank's point of view. Not necessarily actually a fraud that has happened, that's very few, but more on the possible threats that have happened. That information is very useful across the system. See, that's where an organization like IDRBT, which is actually set up for the banking technology development and research across the banks, is working. They have a site onto which the bank's CISOs can log in and put the incidents.
Okay.
As and when the incident database is becoming larger and larger, and that's where the analytics more come into the picture and see what kind of patterns are there, and if this is the type of pattern, is it possible that it is leading into a system? But then the problem comes is how much the banks will be willing to put into it. Because RBI also supports the system, so banks will be doing. It's in the interest of the banks that they have to give that information, because each is going to get the benefit out of sharing into the entire system. This is an evolving system, but I foresee that this one thing which is going to be a strong point for the banks to put in place more analytics into their internal systems or across the system to find it.
To find threats.
The initiative is there and it's going on.
Correct. Ma'am, when you see the regulatory aspect of the TRAI telecom, so is there a conscious by TRAI to get into more into guidelines from a telecom standpoint from threat detection or protection mechanisms, so that and the guidelines are being drawn by TRAI?
There is a lot of effort. I must admit that there is a lot of effort. I think the awareness is extremely strong by TRAI. The mechanisms where you can actually do a database security protection, because having an eKYC or an Aadhaar, but ultimately it is nothing but information technology, which is simplest of the rules, which is database protection. If the database itself can get compromised, then what do you do? Correct. So I believe the guidelines that really need to take a much more mature shape from TRAI or DOT should include mechanisms whereby you are applying a much more honeypot basis approach.
Right.
And then honeypot at an industry level, since the threats are too many. The worst of the attacks that usually happen are much more in a way where even the URLs get compromised in a significant manner. Or if you are doing, say, in the telecom industry, each one of us is a consumer, you are going for your activation process. In the whole activation end-to-end process chain, there are so many players that get involved. So if you can't have the governance around all of these players, what I really like is the aspect of the digitization, right? If TRAI can merge the digitization efforts to become a lot more aggressive in that area, so the timelines of execution on the digitizations should marry very quickly with the security-related guidelines that they are proposing, that's where we're going to meet the best bang for the buck.
Okay.
And let us not try to do everything all in one go, because if you can protect at least the main areas which each consumer is touched by, or each major enterprise, whether it is banking, telecom, or any other sector major, just select a few and make that happen. I think that's where we will be able to see the proof. Because it's an evolving cycle, so every time we try to play something else happens. But at the same time, I will say that we have also come a long way. I mean, a lot of things that we have done that, perhaps others are not aware of, right? In the telecom industry, what has happened, like you said, the NAT grid is there. There are IPv6 protocols at the networking level that have been inserted. And the entire defense sector, if we embrace many of the things which are already done in the West and apply it here in the telecom sector for the consumers, that's where we are going to get a lot more maturity.
Okay. Since ma'am talk about NAT grid, is there any, I think from a futuristic standpoint, there is a movement to synergize NAT grid and Aadhaar together? So any thoughts on that?
That's difficult to say because we do not know what the shape of these two things are going to take. From RBI, we don't drive either of these things, but the point is, it's difficult that two initiatives, how they get converged, or each will complement, supplement over a period of time, because each has maybe halfway through and neither of them has seen the real thing. But what would be more important is how to exploit those things, either of things if they come, either Aadhaar or either the banking, particularly the banking where the question of this KYC and other things come, whether it can be used. That depends on the strength of each one of the systems over a period of time. Because as I was telling, I keep repeating this, information in banking is nothing but the fund. So because of that, it's much more important to see how you are actually ensuring that this is the case. So some kind of KYC, either is eKYC or not, would continue to exist with the strength that comes from either of the projects. That's very difficult to say at this point in time.
Okay. Ma'am, before you just came in, you were talking about the banking and telecom store a lot of PII, what we call personal identifiable information from a privacy standpoint. So on privacy regulation and implementation and regulation, from telecom sector standpoint, are we looking at some more enhanced threat detection mechanisms so that the data is more secure and more protected from a privacy standpoint?
First of all, I do want to mention that actually banking and telecom sector should be completely married in terms of the types of processes and security aspects that are implemented for the reasons that you just now mentioned. The second thing is, if I look at these UID databases, any information that gets leaked out from there can be equally used against any of the banking related information for the consumers. So what my view completely from the privilege identity management perspective is to in fact focus on that whole PIM area completely, and use it extensively with enhanced big data mechanisms, whereby data mining on an ongoing basis of all of the statistical information becomes extremely key. And on that, the predictive analytics with solid, perhaps partners need to work harder on that front, the security partners, where they can actually apply predictive analytics with a lot more intelligence. So the PIM, the access authentication, again, I go back every time to the basics. The basics have to evolve. But please don't deviate. I mean, I think we get too lost in a lot of buzzwords. It is nothing that should be, hyped about. It is the basics that need to constantly get matured and focused on with evolving pattern recognition, as one of the other speakers mentioned, and apply business intelligence to the utmost. Simple rule of thumb. That's it.
Okay. So just like to, we are near the end of session, the buzzer has buzzed, so any closing remarks from your side? And we move on to Mr. Panda, anything?
Basically, in the data mining or big data analytics, the quality of data is very important. So what we get in power sector is the compliance data which we get from distribution companies. And in the month of November, they file the annual revenue requirement. So whatever they file monthly from April to November, and whatever they file for the entire year, those figures doesn't match. Okay. So whatever we call the CRUX quality of data, either through ETL process or cleaning mechanism, there are different ways of cleaning the data. Okay. Still also that quality of data is very poor. Just for the sake of compliance, they are giving the data, but when we actually verify with annual revenue requirement, that doesn't match.
Okay.
Then the other things, data mining, data warehousing, analytics, and other patterns.
Okay. Doctor, your closing remarks.
Actually, I repeat what I started to say, saying that any systems, most important thing is a good governance structure, a policy which goes with that, and the systems that continuously evolve, which are going more and more with the new artificial intelligence, whatever is the backbone that which the systems are provided. But I would put the most important thing is the awareness. Awareness from top to down. And I'm not saying awareness among the consumers, among the employees, and among the top management, among the entire community. This has to come, and this should become like a mission by some of the activists, like whoever is going to take it up across the system. Particularly, I would talk more from the banking point of view, because that's where the consumer is actually affected in the sense that it's a fund that's going to get wiped out if there is any breach in the system. So the awareness why I'm talking is, see, there is one thing the bank can do, there is certain things the bank cannot do. If there is a freezing site, or if the mail is there, it's not part of the bank, it's coming somewhere else. Now, if the consumer is falling for that, if the user is falling for that, it's not because there's a breach on the system of the bank. The bank can put the best system, possibly, a very robust system, but still it's outside the scope. And that can be known only when all the users are knowing that the bank does this and does not do these things. This awareness campaign, I think, is the most important thing that happens, and that brings trust. And it is only the trust that makes the banking a successful thing in the digital way that we are trying to look at it. I think that's what I am looking at, more awareness and more trust building mechanism.
Very well said. Mr. Aradhya, any closing remarks from you?
I'm very happy that telecom and banks are hoping to, I hope that they get married. That really the whole awareness and the cutting edge technologies that these two industries employ really helps us, manufacturing organizations who are at the lower rung of the whole IT maturity or security awareness many times. So the approach that we take is, in order to make people aware of security as a subject, we make them more and more aware of their personal security first. Then comes the organization's databases and all that security, because unless you don't feel that security, desire for security from internally yourself at personal level, you won't really apply that in your day-to-day work and practice areas. And then also, as Atma said, doing the basics right, because many a times our role is to make the business happen and ensure that that balance between the business performance and security is really well maintained. And we don't hamper business performances anywhere because of any solutions that we deploy. So without getting into buzzwords, focus more on doing the basics right and improve the awareness overall.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, your closing remarks.
I think cloud and some of these latest things that everyone is being asked to adopt due to the right reasons are our biggest threat. We ought to think about a war is won before it is fought. So before we really dive into things like the technology innovations that are being propagated very extensively, we ought to take the detailed view of the types of preventive threats and mechanisms that we must adopt as part of predictive analytics and proliferation of the same at levels which are the most vulnerable, right? So I would say we should focus on that, and we should be good. I think we have passed through so many years, and so shall we, right?
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for your time. And as we all heard about from all the four panelists here, threat detection is not a gameplay of any device or any particular device. It is a basically evolving algorithm, and the more you are able to analyze the algorithm and prepare effectively, and here awareness is the key. So how soon or how fast you can make everybody aware as to what threats are being perceived in the sector or in the organization, outside the organization, is the key here. Thank you, gentlemen. And I take the opportunity to thank everybody and ET also to give you opportunity to be a moderator for this panel discussion. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Subramanian, for a fantastic start this day's Tech Security. May I please request Rishi Kapoor, who's Sector Head, ETH, to do us the honors for our panelists by presenting them with a memento for being here with us, sharing their expertise. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to this panel for starting off in good stead and finishing in time. To our moderator, N. Subramanian, a memento. Right next to him, to the Joint Director, Andhra Pradesh Electricity Regulatory Commission, Uma Kantapanda. Dr. Ramasa Shastri, former Deputy General Manager, Department of IT, Reserve Bank of India. To Sunil Aradia, Group CIO, RPG Enterprises. And last but not the least, this old lady on the panel. Thank you for being here with us, ma'am. Group CIO, Reliance Group, Alpna Doshi. May I please request the panel for a photograph, a group photograph? Ladies and gentlemen, our first panel for the day. Enhancing progressive threat detection. We thank them for starting in good stead.